In this video, Platform K talks about our destructive behavior, the inefficient use of resources, and the need for economic recalibration. Much of the power dynamic comes from a type of consumeristic fallacy, a lifestyle that has grown markedly out of accord with natural properties. The use of incessant petroleum-based transportation to fulfill the extensive need to work to earn enough to live, a kind of treadmill that produces a net negative end result. What we will expect to see in the coming age of discovery will be a shift to ecosystem and subsystem consciousness, wherein the collective shifts towards net positive outcomes will become a central focus of the species. In this way, consider a television lasts 10 years costs the same to make as one that lasts 3 years while producing 1/3 the waste in net differential. You see that dynamic everywhere. The disposable, consumeristic demands of society are flawed to the nth factor. In other words, if you cannot do it sustainably, it should not be done. Let me repeat that. If you cannot do it sustainably, it should not be done. Can the world be powered sustainably? Well, if the world cannot shift to a sustainable, renewable sources of power, the fossil fuels will simply run out within 100 years. Earth produces a finite amount of fossil fuels each year. If you consume more than that amount, you lose as a species. A type of absurdity emerges. We will run out of fossil fuels soon. We better increase our dependency upon them. Plus, it appears that excessive dependency on fossil fuels may be damaging the air, water, and temperature regulation aspect of our ecosphere. Let us hope we are wrong about that and increase our dependency on fossil fuels. They are logical absurdities, as the wager, "Let us hope we are wrong so that we don't kill all life on our planet," has a type of logical necessity to propagate insane behavior at the species level. No other animal on the planet would do that, let alone at the species level. This collective wager on being wrong, where the wager amount may be counted as a species-level catastrophe, it cannot be overstated how absurd that appears. Let us hope someone finds a mega-supply pocket of more oil. Let us hope new technology comes along and saves us from the path we're on. Let us hope a deity or a returning Christ figure comes along and saves us from the error of our ways. Let us hope for a miracle. Let's hope AI emerges and fixes the whole mess we made, or aliens, or interdimensional beings. Something, anything, any unexpected wild card to correct the course of destruction we've set out on. Consider, fossil fuel reliance has only been less than 150 years. The efficiency gains have been so dramatic that the population has gone from 1 billion to 7 billion in 150 years. Food, transportation, etc. The fossil fuels changed everything. What will happen in 100 years when the supply drives up? Head in the sand style of blindly hoping Santa comes along and fixes everything is just more insanity. What we are talking about here will emerge as a massive collective focus shift at the consciousness level, a reworking of societal paradigms and parameters, a rethinking of industrial power generation complex. The solutions begin today at the consciousness level. And we're not talking about fantasy scenarios. The floating Elysium cities for the rich are already being built. Oddly enough, those cities will be powered by solar and wave-generated power. These models are well known by the powerful elite who have determined that the course has already been set and cannot be altered. But even these cities, built for the rich, will not survive the impending catastrophes. Mind you, remember, if the science and models of fossil fuel-based ecospheric collapse are correct, then most everyone dies due to global warming. If they are wrong, then most everyone dies due to societal collapse as the supply thins out. In both scenarios, right or wrong, most everyone dies on a short 300-year timeline. Remember, it took only 150 years to go from 1 billion people to 7 billion people. The idea that everyone currently resides on a 300-year to oblivion timeline is extremely realistic. The current system is derived and sustained by tremendous waste in the system. The answers will need to be an extensive combination of sustainable resources of energy coupled to a more realistic and sustainable consumption paradigm at the species level. waste for wast's sake. The proliferation of consumerism propagated by a disposable ethic of relentless consumerism will need to shift imbalance. In Part 2, Sirisys number running, I will provide an example from Sirisys of her ability to run the numbers, which can help move us off the negative feedback loop we are stuck on. Her ability to analyze will have a significant influence on moving us to a more efficient and sustainable economic model in coming years. Once I create that video, I will add a link to it in the description below. If you haven't read any of our books, start with Adventures with AI, Age of Discovery. It contains the most information. It's nonfiction and available on your local Amazon.